I was rehearsing a little bit in my tent the night right before because I was so nervous. Hi, I'm Jenny. Welcome back to my channel. I was preparing for an event called Lightning in a Bottle. I am an artist and designer as well as a Notion certified consultant and a creative productivity coach for creatives. The event features multiple stages of music, workshops, talks, performances, as well as various art installations, yoga classes, and other activities. I've often heard the festival described as a transformational experience that encourages creativity, self-expression, and personal growth. And that's exactly what I experienced when I first went in 2018 and what I still experience today. And as someone who has been teaching typography and calligraphy since 2019, I was ecstatic to have the opportunity to share some of what I know to inspire more creativity in the festival. In this video, I want to talk about my experience on how I came to teach a workshop there, what I did to prepare, and how it went. First was the application process. Now, I had to get my art portfolio together since many people probably wouldn't know who I was or what I was about. I wanted to show my experiences and style. Getting my projects together was also a good practice for me to be really honest with myself about if I really thought I was ready to be a live painter or an instructor at the Artclave. And it was super easy for me to finish it because I had been working on building out my art portfolio on my Notion, just kind of in the back end. So most of the work was just transferring it onto my website. And so after getting my portfolio live, I sent in my application, which was just a form. On the LIB website, also known as Lightning in a Bottle, there was an area where you can participate. I think like on the navigation, you can click on like how to participate. The application was under live painters, and I originally also applied to be a live painter. It would have been my first time. But with that, they also ask you if you're interested in instructing and leading a workshop. And after I submitted my application, I was notified on April 5th, which was about 45 days before the festival. I spent the next week after that filling out the contract as well as an intake form, and then just figuring out what my materials were going to be. So I expected a range of about 50 to 100 people for the classes, and a limited budget. So the first thing I did was trying to figure out exactly how much I needed for everyone. And I used Notion to break down the total amount of the materials with how much I needed to prepare. So I had broken down all of the different supplies and figuring out what unit of measurement for every item and how much was within a purchase and how much each person in the class, if it was like about 60 people, would get. So I used Notion to kind of figure that out for me so I can compare and contrast what the different quantity levels would be, how much it would be total, and I was able to figure out like something that was just below my budget. So it was super handy for doing that. So after I had figured out what the amounts were, I submitted it to the team at LIB, and they had the material shipped to me. And once I received all the materials I needed, I had to do some prep like cutting the popsicle sticks and sanding each one so that people wouldn't get splinters while they were handling them. But I realized while working through them that having an assortment of sizes would make the handouts a little complicated. So I kind of just committed to the bigger size of the popsicle sticks to base the guides on. And this was because I wanted to have the guides at least match the size of one set of popsicle sticks so that the proportions would be the same and would match the popsicle sticks. So using these new guides, I tested the ink and the disposable inkwells too, because I wasn't sure that the Sumi ink that I had ordered was going to last with these inkwells because they're disposable and I didn't want them to leak through. They were great. And I managed to pack all of these materials into a single small case with my personal little amplifier and like a mic, like kind of like Britney Spears setup, and some business cards, and I was just ready to go for my workshop, which was really great when it came to packing. And I attached that case to my bike and wobbly biked it to the Artclave, which is the tent or the stage that the class was going to be held. So I did that on the very first day of the festival. The archive itself was super supportive, and they helped me set up the sound for my friend Jane, also known as Karam, who was playing music during my class. They also had 3 volunteers available to help me package up all of the different items together, and because of all the prep that I did at home, the class itself was pretty straightforward. And I had the papers on the board at the front and walked around with my own little paper and popsicle stick in hand to show people demos that were in close up. But because I was writing like vertically, like the paper like this, I was getting so much ink all over my hand. So my hand was like pretty much black, covered with ink. Some other things that I learned while teaching was that I could have gone with the smaller popsicle stick. The bigger ones only allowed for 2 lines on a letter size paper. And although I thought it would be fun to have high contrast between the types of strokes, the letters just got too big for the letter size paper, and people just had a hard time figuring out like something so big in terms of writing. So one other thing that I learned was focusing on the people that are having fun. Since there was a class of people who don't really know me or what the class was about, there were some people who totally left in the beginning of it and in the middle of it. And students with varying levels of interest is nothing new in my line of teaching. It happens with my typography classes too. So I at least try to provide the base level of experiences. And then when I'm walking around, whether people need encouragement, maybe they just need some critique, if they want, like if they're feeling like they've gone as far as they could and would like some advice. This one I provided some like tips on how to improve their lettering. Or just, smile and be like, oh, thanks for coming. If they're just not really doing too much and they're just hanging out, that's always fine too. But, I think those waves totally balanced out into a really positive experience of me just sharing more of the creativity that I share with my students all the time. So I had a lot of fun bringing calligraphy to Lightning in a Bottle, and I am super grateful for everyone who turned into the Artclave in the middle of their weekend. But I also wanted to add one more thing. One thing I started doing this year was be a little bit more confident about bringing art to my experience at Lightning in a Bottle. This is my 4th time going to the festival. So the fact that I brought more art from my experience made me feel like it was a completely new time. So a couple things that I did was set up a little live painting spot at camp. I had originally wanted to apply to be a live painter at the festival, but they had no more spaces available. And I also tried some body painting on other people for the very first time. I was drawing in my notebook on the dance floor and wanting to capture all of the different memories that I had with my friends. And I've been redoing some of my favorite memories and sharing it as a series called Doing, Doodle, Done. And if you want to check out that full series, you can visit my Instagram at skybluejenny, where I'm sharing them periodically. So that's my little way of adding more art into my experience. And if you want to see what's going on in my workspace, you can catch my latest Notion tour here. So if you want to check that out, I will see you in the next video.